There was a promise made, dreamers believed, but we didn't know what we were headed towards. Good fights were won, some felt left behind.
Welcome, everybody, to the Band of Gamers podcast NewsCast, actually. This is our short news-focused discussion podcast that we do every Thursday lately. I am Osiris Prime. That is Zeusadamus. He is...
We'll never get this right.
Well, maybe one day. It's been only 94 shows, so eventually we'll do it. It's just the two of us tonight. I will spare you from...
How many reps does it take to become an expert? Is it like 10,000 or something?
Sure, that's fine. We can do it. We're young still, more or less. So yeah, just the two of us. DB is he's on assignment at E3. No, I'm just kidding. He's on vacation. I thought that sounded better, saying he's on assignment. But maybe we'll talk about E3 a little bit later on after the news. Just kind of let you know what's going on for next week's shows. But let's start off with some news. I got quite a bit here for the two of us. There's been a lot that was out there this week. So let's start off with a little Nintendo news. Let me jump to my thing here, which got messed around now. Thank you very much, internet browsers. So, Nintendo had a Pokemon Direct, well, mostly Pokemon Direct, themed Direct this past week. And they did announce a new game sort of new game for the Nintendo Switch. And that is Pokken Tournament DX. That is the Pokemon Tekken type of fighting game that they released for the Wii U. I believe in the fall last year, I think it was, or maybe even later than that. I can't remember exactly. But this game, the DX, will be coming out September 22nd for the Switch. And there's a little bit of disappointment, I guess, because people were thinking this was going to be. They were hopefully going to announce the like a mainline type of Pokemon game. Maybe I guess the rumor was the Pokemon, the Moon and Sun is the newest one for 3DS. They were thinking Stars maybe was going to come out, but that didn't happen. So this one's coming out DX. You'll get local wireless multiplayer play as well as single Joy-Con play. There's some new features or new versions of the 3-on-3 team battles, online ranked play, and friend-only group matches. So, and they're actually throwing in 5 new Pokemon in there. And these are, I'm sorry if I butcher the names, but Darkrai, Scizor, Empoleon, Krogunk, and Decadai. I'm just going to assume that one. That one's actually, the last one's from Sun and Moon. So I guess the other ones are just normal, from the normal games, earlier games. And that's all they've said so far. Like I said, it's coming out September 22nd. And I don't know, did you play the Wii U version? I don't think you had a Wii U, did you, Zeus?
I did not, and in general, I do not play Pokemon.
Oh,
not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just
well, this is going to be a fighting game, so this might be up your alley.
That's possible.
We'll see. September 22nd, that's kind of in the start of the big game, so who knows if you'll be able to pick that up right away. But I did not play for Nintendo, or I'm sorry, for the Wii U either. I think DB might have. I believe he stated at some point. It's Pokemon characters, so it's not, there's not a lot of, blood and, gruesomeness, so it's a little more kid-friendly, I guess, fighting game, if you want to call it that. But it looks interesting. Once I get a Switch, maybe I'll pick it up. I played a little bit of it at a Comic-Con, actually this past year. They had a bunch of consoles set up, and I dipped into it really quick, but it was pretty fun. It was pretty cool. Pretty simple. Nothing too hard. I mean, Tekken's not really. I mean, it's, I guess, simple to play, but hard to master type of game. So it's one of those type of games too. So you can just kind of jump into it. So yeah, there's that. And also really quick, during that Direct, they announced Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which will be coming out in November for the 3DS, and then also September 22nd for the 3DS Virtual Console. They'll be releasing Pokemon Gold and Silver, which is older games in the series. So you got those titles. So that's it for that. If there's no questions, let's move on to a little bit of Mass Effect Andromeda news. Zeus?
Yeah, sorry. So this story is up over at Games Radar, titled Mass Effect Andromeda's animation problems attributed to Frostbite, understaffed departments, and last-minute changes. Now, Prime, you are going to need to watch the clock on this one. So, yes,
Okay.
I am specifically a software engineer, and a lot of that content academically consists of software project management, and this is like, I would probably spend an hour poring over this article. So this is just like a classic case study. At least it sounds like the allegations make it a classic study of a not optimally managed software development project. So, the claims are, now, I can't speak to the validity of any of these claims because they were apparently gathered via anonymous interviews and people who refused to be named, etc., but many of whom were supposedly developers on the Mass Effect Andromeda project. First thing that was laid to blame, that's listed in the article, is that Frostbite isn't made for RPGs. What they talk about is how many of the industry tools are kind of specifically tilted towards specific applications, meaning game genres or specific game designs. So, they say that the Unreal Engine has a lot of power, but doesn't necessarily run at very high speeds, hence it being used in maybe things like Gears of War makes sense, right? Because Gears of War doesn't move really fast, but it has a high level of detail. They compare the Unity engine, and there's a lot of car metaphors in here that I'm kind of bypassing. So they say the Unity engine doesn't have a lot of power, but is quick to implementation and easy and flexible to use, which sounds to me like you should be able to get a development team up and running on it quickly, but it may not look that great in comparison to a game done in another engine. They say Frostbite is a sports car and specifically a Formula One car, which means it is highly tuned to a very specific type of game design and application, but lacks in every other area. And the big thing, I can't speak to the validity of that. However, one thing that does ring true to me and sounds like it could be a major problem is that Unity does not have an animation system. So, when you think about a development framework, what it's saying is that Frostbite has a lot of elements and a lot of things that are already done in the can, that teams can leverage, but one thing you have to bring yourself when you choose to use Frostbite is your own animation system, with a compatible set of software interfaces that would then mate with the Frostbite framework. So this development team had to build their own animation system for Andromeda. It's kind of weird to me that they say they had to build it from scratch, because I don't understand why. Because part of this problem is they say that EA mandated, either just as this thing was going into development or shortly after, that all development studios in EA would use the Frostbite engine, which I want to say is an engine done by DICE, and comes out of the Battlefield pen.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so at any rate, so they were forced to use this framework. Again, I'm hard. I don't understand why, if EA would mandate that everybody use a Frostbite engine that had been done by DICE, why a corresponding animation engine couldn't also have been provided by some other studio who had implemented a game in the Frostbite engine before. But at any rate, this claim says that they had to do the animation system on their own. In addition to that, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, real quick. I was saying in that little section they mentioned how the Dragon Age team had, I guess, been working with it. So Edmonton, BioWare Edmonton, they had used it. So I don't know why they couldn't just
share it out.
I know it's not as easy as borrowing assets, and you can't just plug and play and stuff, but try to at least get some help from those guys. Yeah,
but ish, right? Again, in that software engineering space, if my option is to utilize somebody else's tool, somebody else's development framework that admittedly I didn't build myself, so I'm not as comfortable with it, right, versus build my own thing, I say, I'm sorry, you guys are just going to have to be uncomfortable, right, using somebody else's animation framework, because that's better than me letting you guys build it on your own. So that was kind of the big claim, which is probably the most scathing accusation or allegation in this stack, because basically it's railing against a corporate decision, I guess a corporate engineering decision that was made within EA, and shows a lot of dissonance amongst the studios themselves. So there was that. They also mentioned that the team size changed mid-development. They actually, it's kind of weird, they actually cut people. So, well, I guess the team was very large and the game was de-scoped and people stayed on the team. So you had a staff that was oversized for the scaled down development. I won't get into all the different issues that could cause. But then finally, they were directed. I still don't kind of understand this, but that animation team, which already had to build its own rig, was then directed to shift from 3D Studio Max to Maya, both of which are industry standard tools. I'm sure that is the case in most areas of software development, that there are religious evangelists who ascribe to one temple or the other, and there the twain shall meet. And so I could also see how that could cause a big issue. But the main thing is as is the case most of the time, I am willing to believe that 99% of the time when there's a problem with a game, it's not because the developers were lazy, which a lot of people like to throw that accusation around. It probably more than likely has to do with a certain degree of mismanagement. Whether that mismanagement, I think the big question here is, did that mismanagement occur in Montreal at the BioWare studio, or was it corporate intervention? A la forcing Joss Whedon to make the movie version of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, right? So, it's unfortunate. It's definitely going to be controversial as this kind of spins around the industry, but it's very interesting also to see all these parameters come out. So I don't know, did you play Mass Effect Andromeda? I don't think either of us played it.
No, I didn't play it, no. Yeah. I played a little bit of the very first Mass Effect, but that's about it. So,
yeah. All right.
Wasn't on my roadmap.
So I'm gonna roll on to the second story, which is hopefully happier. So earlier this week, Sony said thank you to all our fans with a new gold PS4 in a blog post written up over at the PlayStation blog, and also mentioned 9 days of epic deals, which it sounds like I'm going to need to go shift some money into my PayPal account. So this is a summertime deal. There's a lot of these. This is a big theme going on around the industry, by the way, that it seems like summertime, just kind of like DB and I talked a couple weeks ago on the Core Show, and it seems apropos that tons of publishers, distributors, retailers go into selling a lot of games because they know they've got gamers' attention. Because E3 is coming out, people are out of school, and as DB and I discussed, there's really a whole shift in mentality around at least the United States, whether you're a school-age person or not necessarily school-age, but in school or not, that makes you focus maybe a little bit more on leisure time. So they rolled out a very pretty-looking PlayStation 4 Gold. Now, I haven't read any accounts of anybody who's seen these things in person. In the picture, it looks very kind of matte-ish, but also shiny, which it doesn't look plasticky. So the thing I'm trying to tell is this molded gold plastic, or is this black plastic painted with gold? Obviously, the former would be the preferred manufacturing process. But I think this thing is supposed to be available on the 9th of June, so it comes out tomorrow. I don't know that anybody needs to buy this. It's $250, but it's a basic PS4. I don't see anything here that says that they're going to do a PS4 Pro in gold. Okay. So, and it comes with one matching wireless controller. I always get two with my console, so are you going to be able to buy a second one, aftermarket? I don't know. So, but those things are coming out. That SKU is going to be available only in the 1 terabyte version, which is fine. They're also doing a gold wireless stereo headset. I love my gold wireless stereo headset, and that's going to be $79.99. And then they are doing a sale. It looks like on particular games from the store, from the PlayStation Store at least, it'll be Neo, Horizon Zero Dawn, and MLB The Show. I've got the latter two. Both of them are great. I think it's they're things that are good to pick up. Right now, they're going to be on sale for $39.99. So,
nice.
Why don't you tell me about lawsuits?
Oh, lawsuits. Good old Chicago. Good old Chicago. So the ESA, so that's the Entertainment Software Association, is taking legal action against Chicago for their amusement tax that they've put in place. And this encompasses not just gaming, streaming gaming services, but also music and television also. But they basically are saying that this is an unfair tax targeting the online entertainment and violates the Internet Tax Freedom Act. And they have the link of the lawsuit that details all the action there, or all the details. But yeah, basically it's a tax just for streaming, really. I mean, and I know this kind of sucks too, because they started doing taxes on just online sales for games, but also like on Amazon, it used to be free. There was no tax on any Amazon, anything you bought through Amazon, but now there is, and that I think started up like a year or two ago. And then I think this started up, might have been this year, maybe last year, this entertainment tax. So good old Chicago, good old Illinois, because that's where I'm from, so I'm going to say that. But yeah, so I don't know, what do you think about, do you think anything's going to come of this? I mean, do you really think they can like overturn this, or are they just looking for money out of this, or what do you think is going to happen?
So I think that the general practice of taxing Amazon sales or internet sales has been going on for a while. I do believe at the end of the day that it's state by state. I know the big thing that drew all the attention was them going to war with California, and actually for a period of time, Amazon just didn't. So they did not have. I guess they would not. I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. I think they shut down all of their distribution centers in California, or something like that. But they did something very draconian to kind of try and financially punish the state of California as far as the availability of its services, and California customers kind of suffered for it. I think I was living in California when that went down, But eventually, Amazon was the one who buckled under the pressure and went back to the negotiating table with the state of California. And after that, kind of caved on their whole strategy of trying to fight states who wanted taxes placed on internet shipping, specifically from Amazon. And now it goes down a lot with a lot of other retailers too. That could be a whole other podcast in and of itself. But I don't. So. I think the ESA has a shot here because now we're talking about taxing services, right? And we've got the net neutrality fight going on. At the end of the day, I don't know. I'm probably going to get in my trouble for speaking out. I mentioned in our discussion of this that I am not necessarily. I could see myself coming to agreement with a rationale, if anybody could put it together, and I don't know that anyone has yet, for companies to be able to buy higher speed peering across the CDNs or direct delivery through the last mile to the home. So I feel like if Netflix wants to get its stuff delivered faster, then it should have the ability to buy that, right? Nothing prevents them from buying a faster truck, right, and putting that on the highway. But I will say at the end of the day, another part of, not directly net neutrality, but kind of caught up in the conversation is also this notion of whether or not the telecoms are a utility, and I do firmly believe that they should be a utility. And so while I guess I would like to make sure that there's enough space for innovation, at the end of the day, I do still feel like the telecoms need to be regulated, just like electrical utilities are, and gas utilities are, because without it, they have proven that they are going to be bad actors. The other thing that just popped into my head the other day. The other thing is, if we say that they're not utilities, are we saying that the only utilities that will ever exist will be electrical, telephone, and gas? Right? It seems preposterous to me that over the entire life cycle of mankind, right, that there couldn't come into being a new technology that pervades our existence so much that it should be declared a utility, but we elect not to. Sorry, that's probably more than you wanted. I will let you proceed to your next story.
No, that's okay. That's what I was asking for. So, and yeah, I mean, I think I remember when we talked about this, and as long as if they're paying for stuff, that's fine. As long as they don't kill the little guy underneath them and throttle them or do anything like that, I think that's fair. So
right.
So yeah. So this was from article on Gama Sutra, which my next article is also from originally. And it's a deep dive study, not that they did, but that Ars Technica did on Xbox Live gaming habits, basically, which I guess caused kind of a fervor this week after this came out. There's a lot of tweets back and forth from Phil Spencer and from other members of the Xbox Live staff and stuff like that, saying that maybe it's not totally true of these stats that they pulled. So basically, they're just going through usage of on Xbox One and Xbox 360. But as far as Xbox One goes, and I'm going to pull up the graph here in a second. So we had 54.7% people were playing games. Okay, that seems fair. And then on the other side, oh man, I closed out my thing. It was just under, I think, like 48% when you calculate it all up between like the different TV apps and stuff like that. So Netflix, the TV app, YouTube, and then they have a section called other non-game apps. So that'd be like Twitch, Hulu, Amazon. I think those all like kind of bunched together. So it's almost like a 50% split there between Xbox game playing Xbox games and then doing other stuff like TV and stuff like that. And then a little bit 1.5%, and this is where I think they were getting in trouble, or not in trouble, but they were kind of going back and forth, was the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility game usage, and that was only at 1.5%. And that's when people started getting in there and saying, hey, this is not totally, right. This was only a sample they did from September 26, 2016 to February 12th, 2017. So it's a small sample they did. So obviously, and even in the Ars Technica article, they said, there could be some errors here and there, but they were pretty much sticking to their guns on that 1.5 usage. And not that they kind of they didn't really say oh yeah, see, this is why, backwards compatibility is bad, but they were just saying, these were the stats. So there's still kind of a tussle going online about these stats, but
yeah, that seems to be kind of splitting hairs, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so given when the snapshot was taken, I can see there being a reason for that skew and for that to maybe be disregarded as statistically significant. So other people might disagree, but I think getting your Xbox 360 games that you already own that have transitioned to backwards compatible is, to me, not as easy as I would like it to be. To me, it seems like it's improved, but when it first came up, sometimes those games just appeared in your queue as available for download, but a lot of times they didn't. And a lot of times I had to go to my PC and log into my Xbox account into the store and go into the store and tag those games and push them to download to my Xbox One. So that may have had a chilling effect on people who were interested in pulling their games, and it may have been a thing they logged in and tried it. Look, some gamers will log in and if it didn't just show up or didn't work, or they had to go through a pain in the behind to get them to pull down, may have tried that one time and then may have tried it again a few days later or the following week. But there's plenty of consumers who are of the type that if they try it the first time and it doesn't work, they don't go back and check it again, right, until they happen to see an article that tells them that there's been an update or that there's some reason for them to go check. So I can see that skew. But again, that is not what I would be arguing about if I were Microsoft. I would be more concerned about the larger picture that's being painted, that people are only using their consoles to play actual games 50% of the time, right? And I would think that Phil and his team would need to decide whether or not they were okay with that perception, because if you go back to the management regime before him, they would have been completely fine with that because they were trying to push the Xbox One as an entertainment console, not as directly a gaming console. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because yeah, you see like half the thing is like, you know, green, which is for the games. And, you know, when I'm looking at my friends list, I mean, like every other one, or maybe like every, you know, just almost everyone is on YouTube, is on Twitch, is on, you know, Netflix,
Right.
whatever. So, I mean, it just makes sense. But, and then just real quick on the 360 side, it's actually like almost a little over 60% where people are watching the TV, and then, you know, 40 some or whatever percent, you know, playing games. So,
and I can understand that too, right? Because probably that 360 is not their primary console. They've probably just kept it around, or they've given it to their kids or something. And it's just being used as a streaming box instead of them going out and spending money on a Chromecast or a Roku, right?
yeah.
But for me, from my perspective, I think if I were on Phil's team, I would be fine with the 50% because I don't think it's representative of the value perception that people have of their console. I think a majority of people still think that their Xbox One is something that they use for gaming. It just happens that people turn these things on, they leave them on, they let Netflix run in the background when that's not what they're really doing.
Yeah.
They sit around idly. They use it a lot when you're sitting around waiting for your friends to get online to go play games. So, be interesting. The most interesting thing to me about this is, do they put something to counter this in their voice track at E3?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, yeah, I don't know if it's like too late before they, you know, if they could do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they always could. They can always just throw it in there or something if they really want to.
Or they
Throw out
just
some
ignore it.
numbers. Yeah.
What's really curious to me, and this is what I would have kind of fired back at Ars Technica about as a fan, right, is when are they going to do the study on the PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
Right? Why just the 360, unless it's just happened to have this API exposed?
Yeah, and I guess they had done this on Steam, I believe. I think that was more a breakdown of games. That's kind of where this came from originally. They did the Steam, and then they're like, all right, yeah, let's do Xbox. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. They didn't mention in the article if they were going to do PS4 or not. So at least not that I saw. But I'm sure it'll come probably.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're at about 26 minutes, so I'm going to try and burn through these next two articles in 4 minutes or less and give us a little time to kick some things around if we need to. So the first of my last two articles are another post over on the PlayStation blog, and this should serve as a public service announcement for any of our listeners. PlayStation Live from E3 2017 streams on Monday. Watch live and earn rewards. You will have the ability to, if you go to the PlayStation channel on Twitch TV, as well as YouTube and their page on Facebook, via liveplaystation.com, they are going to be streaming their E3 press conference. And what you will be able to receive while you are logged in to one of those things, watching those streams. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I guess when you... I don't know. There's something called a quest panel where you can find all the tasks for the rewards. So it sounds like this is kind of like a scavenger hunt, and there are some things you're going to have to go do, and then maybe representatives from those panels or whatever will be in those chat rooms or whatever. But I guess the bigger thing is, I mean, first of all, it's determined if you even want to do this or not. There will be rewards for 25% off apparel in the PlayStation Gear Store, PlayStation 4 themes. The Dreadnought Hunter Pack. Zeus is suddenly interested.
There we go.
So this is curious to me because Dreadnought is not a released game. It's in closed beta on the PS4, but they are still selling a Hunter Pack for $10. Which on the PC, it's not necessarily unusual for you to be in what used to be called Greenlight, which they're moving away from, or an early access game, and you still do get charged for it. So I'm going to need to pull the thread and see how that looks. Yet another game that I have, MLB The Show 17. They've got some type of exclusive pack for players and items. That's probably going to be some exclusive uniforms. And maybe some bats and gloves and things like that. And then there are two other awards that are going to be offered through Supergiant's Pyre channel. I have no idea what that is about. But big thing is remember that the Sony E3 press conference is Monday, the 12th of June at 5 p.m. Pacific time. I take that back. That is... That's their media showcase. Is it Monday night? I can't tell which one of these is their actual press conference.
Yeah,
I think they are Monday night because Microsoft is Sunday afternoon. I thought Sony was going Monday night, but it might.
Yeah, Monday at 6.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I gotta go. Somebody's going Tuesday before we're gonna do that podcast, so I gotta look that up. But at any rate, go to the PlayStation blog and look at their chart. They've got several times, and some of these are big chunks of times. It's not just like their singular press conference. But they have like 6-hour blocks of time where you can tune in and watch E3 2017 programming from Sony. Looks like 6-hour blocks every day for E3, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, from noon to 6. So check that out. Get some free stuff. Last thing from my end is over on PC Gamer, Logitech launches stylish multi-use headsets for gaming and music. I keyed in on this because a big part of my personal tech blog and website, gearworks.com, as far as hardware reviews, is I take a look at a lot of headsets, mainly because they're inexpensive and it's not that much for me to pay out of pocket. I do a quick review and put it on my YouTube channel because gamers seem to be highly interested in peripheral reviews, particularly headsets. So there's a bunch of tech specs here for audio files, frequency response 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz, 32 ohms impedance, 107 dB at 1 kilohertz sensitivity. I don't even know what all those mean. I never understood audio specs. It's much more of a subjective, like, does it sound good? But it looks like some cool things are. It has kind of some skins, which you can swap around to make the headset look a little different. This is the Logitech G233, which, if you're familiar with Logitech hardware at all, kind of has the same basic design as far as their ear cups and cables and things go. It's really just a matter of what color you get and whether it's tilted towards being primarily an analog interface headset or a USB headset. And then those numbers scale up, right? So 203 is a set that I have, and then there's the 233 is the standard headset, and then the 433 is the 7.1 gaming headset, which is kind of generally how their SKUs roll. So the 433 is $100. The 233 is $80. It's a weird price differential. If it were me, I would just pay the extra $20 and get the 7.1 sound, even if I didn't necessarily need it. So those are going to be available this month. So if you're in the market for a headset and you want to check that out, Logitech does some pretty good stuff. I have a couple Logitech headsets, and I would definitely say that they are worth consideration amongst all the other headsets from manufacturers out there. So that is it for the news rundown. Prime, do we have anything else we need to go over?
I just wanted to run through the conferences real quick for E3. And before I do that, just a public service announcement. So next week, DB and Zeus, actually, I will be out next week. We'll be doing a string of shows, just, going over E3 news that pops up. So Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, I believe, are the days, tentatively?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So I'm not sure about the times yet, so I don't know. I can't give you that. But so let's start with, and then I'm just going to go over the E3 conferences real quick here. Saturday kicks off E3 a day early, actually, with EA, because they're doing their separate thing, their EA Play. And they actually they're starting at 12 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday, June 10th. So they'll go through their conference, and they'll just have, you can play their games and stuff at the show. At their separate show. So Sunday, June 11th, we'll have Microsoft at 2 p.m. Pacific, where they'll have that's their big conference that they'll do. And then later on that day, Bethesda will be at 7 p.m. Pacific time with their news conference. Monday, we got June 12th, we have the PC Gaming Show at 10 a.m. Pacific, Ubisoft at 1 p.m. Pacific, and these are all their conferences, and PlayStation, like we mentioned, 6 p.m. Pacific. And then finally, Tuesday, last one, Nintendo will have their Spotlight, which is just their pre-rolled digital event that they do, kind of like one of their directs. Where it'll be a little bit more in depth with their games and probably longer than usual. They're at 9 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, June 13th, and that'll be the last conference. And then just throughout the days up until Thursday, you'll have the different panels for shows and stuff that I'm sure they'll stream it on Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. So a full week of E3. That should be exciting. Hopefully I'll be able to catch a little bit of it here and there. I'll be on vacation, so I don't know how much I'll be able to watch, but I'll try to watch as much as I can for our show the next week. So I can talk a little bit more.
And the next week, just a reminder that so next week we will do the last 3 shows under the moniker Band of Gamers, and then after that, the week following E3, we will be rebranded and retitled. We still don't have new cast members. We would still love to hear from anybody who thinks that they would like to be recurring cast members on the show. Really looking for kind of 2 people. But main thing is next week we will probably start rolling out some information on where to look for us on our new YouTube channel. The episodes will still be posted to the blog right over here at gearworks.com, so you'll still be able to find them there. And on our SoundCloud channel, just under my name, Agaskles. So that is it. One more week with Band of Gamers, and then after that, you can keep up with us. Just call it something else.
Should be exciting.
I was thinking tonight, as I was getting ready for the show, I was like, it's too bad. We may need to talk to DB and tell him he's got to grow a beard. Because if all 3 of us had beards, then we could call ourselves something associated with that.
Yeah.
But we're not. But we should think about it.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll see. Maybe after his vacation, he's grown a big bushy beard.
Right.
He'll be totally different on Sunday.
We'll do a last-minute rebranding.
That's right.
Rebrand. Yeah. All right, man, why don't you take us out?
All right, so that'll bring us to the end of episode number 94. I don't know if I mentioned that at the beginning, but if you like this episode or any of the previous episodes, please like, subscribe, and share. Subscribe for now, and you'll have to resubscribe again once we rebrand. But, do that. And then, once again, check us out on Sunday. We'll probably post the time maybe somewhere, possibly, or do something. But, our show will be up there. So on behalf of myself, Osiris Prime, that is Zeus Adamus. We'll see you next time.